Welcome, everyone. My name is Manny Tejeda, one of the program directors here at CFES Berlin Pathways. And for today's theme day of Dreaming About Your Future, we'll be focusing on the transition to college. So what we've been talking about is obviously, getting started. It all begins in high school to let's get you ready, thinking about careers, then thinking about college and gear, and then finding ways to pay for college and really setting up with the financial literacy foundation. And today, really, it's all about the transition, right? And how do you get involved when you're in school or when you're in that job? How do you become a better citizen of the community in which you're in? So today with us, we have Andrea from the 80K Foundation, and I'm going to have her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what she does for the organization she works for, and then we'll kick it off with some questions. We do want to have this be as engaging as possible, so please use the chat function as much as you can to ask any questions. We won't feel interrupted, and we'll get to answer them as fast as we can. Okay? All right, Andrea, it's all yours.
Thanks, Manny. It's good to be with you today. Hi, everybody. I'm from Adirondack Foundation, as Manny said, and I'm the program officer here. And Adirondack Foundation is one of over 700 community foundations in the country that help connect generous donors with the causes they care about in the places that they love. And the funding that we have is comes from lots of different people and many different sources, and it's from people who really care about the Adirondack region. And we have over 260 charitable funds, and they're all pooled and invested together to give back and support the hundreds of nonprofits in the region annually. And we call ourselves kind of the philanthropic hub for the Adirondack region. It's a hub too. I could say that. It means that we use our assets, which are people and knowledge and money, to strengthen the communities where, by making grants to nonprofit organizations and schools and municipalities, and as I was saying earlier, to scholarships for students. So something you all can relate to a little bit. So we want to help ensure that the people who live here and love this region and love being in the Adirondacks can not only just live here, but do really well and have a good, meaningful life here and thrive. So we were founded, 24 years ago, and since then we've made over $54 million in grants. And the grants piece of it is my job, and so I, as the program officer, my job means that I'm not only responsible for processing and facilitating with donors to make all those grants in the region to nonprofits such as Brilliant Pathways, and to help them do their good work, but we also facilitate, as I said, scholarships to help students meet their educational goals. I think one of my favorite things about working here at Adirondack Foundation is to help see our communities thrive and to help make it a better place to live. I get to work with so many amazing people and organizations and change makers in the region, and it's really rewarding, and it's incredible to see how people can make a difference in their community, and a lot of that comes from being involved in their community, and it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a wonderful thing when it happens.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, Andrea, can you dive in and talk a little bit about how students, whether they're in high school or college, can get involved with the foundation and some of the activities that you all put together throughout the year? And
Absolutely.
Then maybe mention a couple of those activities.
Sure. So, as somebody who's lived here, I've lived here now. I went to SUNY Plattsburgh and graduated from there, and I went away and came back, and I've probably lived in the Adirondack region for 20 plus years, and for most of those years I've worked in and around nonprofit organizations and done such a multitude of volunteer activities, then a lot of the people that volunteer for the events in this region are college students. We have a lot of colleges here in the region, and I would say that the benefits to getting involved in your community are immeasurable, but one of the most important things to do is to figure out what you're interested in and go with that to help you get involved in your community. It makes for a much more enriching and fulfilling time in college, and it helps shape what you want to do with your life. It can really help you figure out where you want to go, and it helps you if you want to volunteer for different things, like volunteering for food drives to get food for people at the food pantry, or volunteer for at your local library helping tutor people, or a lot of times college kids help out at our elementary schools after school program to just help kids with their homework and things like that. And it helps you well, obviously there's a lot of skill building involved with volunteerism and getting involved, but there are lots of ways you can find the avenues to get involved. Student affairs offices at the college have a great handle on what opportunities there are in the community. There are a lot of reading the newspaper. That's a passe thing. Everybody reads it online, but there are a lot of community newsletters that go out in the college community that you live in that really help to get you involved. Here's another great example: North Country Community College in Saranac Lake. Every winter, Saranac Lake has a winter carnival, and you can volunteer to help build an ice palace. And what a cool way to get involved in your community. So many people come out, and it's a great group effort, and lots of things are involved with that, and you can meet tons of people. And so there's just lots of cool ways to do it. At Adirondack Foundation, we have college students who've helped us as interns, so you can get paid for some of your volunteer time working on lots of projects. We had a we had an intern a couple years who was reaching out to our grant recipients and interviewing them and finding out how that work, that they got support for, is impacting their community, and how the grant helped them, and telling the stories about the good work of the nonprofits in the region. And working at a nonprofit or at a community foundation, our organization and this institution is unique in that we're tied to all the nonprofit community, and we work with municipalities and local governments. So we've kind of got our finger on lots of different pulses of what's happening in your community. And if you can find a way, through when you're, I know when you're in the midst of schoolwork and focusing on trying to just keep it together day to day, a lot of what can help you feel like you fit in a community is to volunteer in a place that's working on the ground in that community. If it could be, if you are, I was an art student, and I got involved with the local arts organizations and trying to, if, we were also involved in sports, and you can find out if there are sporting events going on and volunteering for them. In Lake Placid, there are a plethora of volunteer opportunities for college students and high school students alike. It's the Olympic region, so we have many world-class events, and you can volunteer for those. You can timing ski races. You can do all kinds of volunteering at the Ironman, handing out T-shirts or water or whatever it is. But being on the ground working with your neighbors is a really great way to feel like a part of something bigger, and making things, sort of connect all those dots of who you are. And nonprofit organizations hire interns to help with special projects, as I said, but there are endless opportunities both in the nonprofit and the business sector, and the key is really to just find what resonates with you, find what makes you tick, and what you're passionate about, and try to get involved with that. I just saw somebody say I'd like to volunteer at sports and things like that. So, yeah, that's one of the best ways to really meet people and get involved with things that are happening, is to just find the things that you're interested in and say, hey, how do I get involved? And don't be afraid to talk to people that you see in the community working on things that are interesting to you. It's really kind of important to get out of your comfort zone and talk to people.
So, Andrea, yeah, I mean, you've shared so much right there, and I just want to, if I may, unpack a little bit of what was discussed. Obviously, you talked a lot about kind of the networking part of it, right? You get to connect with the community, you get to do a lot of things in team, so you're developing your teamwork. Also, leadership skills, and then goal setting. You all have a common goal when you're volunteering, whether it's at a food shelter or at a sporting event. But those are all kind of the benefits we don't necessarily talk about, but that are so important, right? Mm-hmm. The other things that you mentioned are like, if you're volunteering for a sporting event, you get to kind of go for free. I remember when I was in college, I used to love getting free food, so I would volunteer at a local food bank. And people were like, what do you do in your Saturday morning? I'm like, I'm going to go volunteer. It's like, isn't that what people do? Well, I do it because I wanted the free food.
Manny, I was like, if you volunteer in Lake Placid, if you volunteer at World Cup bobsled or at a Nordic ski race or the Loppet or something, you get a ticket to Whiteface. So you can get free passes to the ski area, in addition to watching sometimes world-class events. I mean, I watched the World Cup bobsled and watched the U.S. team win. What's cooler than that? So it's multifaceted benefits. You're networking and interacting with people, and managing your time. Let's not forget that time management. It's important to be able to fit it all in, but the benefits really are immeasurable when you make time to get involved with the organizations in your community, because it also helps you understand how your community works and how all the different parts, like businesses and nonprofit organizations and the sports organizations, how it all fits together to shape the community. And you may end up wanting to live there someday, and you want to know how all that fits together. And it's interesting to see how it makes a community thrive. I mean, this region is really tied to tourism and bringing outside people in. But we also have to live here year round, and we want young people to come back here. So we want young people to come volunteer in the Adirondacks, everybody. Come and love it here and fall in love and move back.
Not as a second home per se. First, start living there full time.
Live here,
That's great. So can we talk? I'm just gonna, in terms of benefit, one of the things that related to something you mentioned about networking is that you're meeting with a lot of different folks, right? Organizations like 80K Foundation, they might also need students to help out and do internships or get paid jobs. I mean, that's another great benefit that you'll have in access to people that you probably didn't think about or wouldn't have met in the same capacity. That if you're in college, it allows you to be involved in many different ways, but also could lead to something that is more permanent down the line. So that's something to definitely consider and really think about. And also, we talked about this earlier. If you're a student and you don't necessarily know what you want to study, or perhaps you're changing your mind about what you want to do after college, this is also another great way of doing it. You get to experience and explore firsthand what a job in X might be by just volunteering.
Absolutely. I just to expand on that a little, Manny. I mean, I personally coordinate our Lake Placid Village cleanup. It's an annual cleanup day. I mean, every community should have one because it's appalling. The fact that people huck things out their window, like, what? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I drive down the road in the springtime and it's a disgusting mess, and it's always amazed me. So I took that bull by the horns and said, I'm going to volunteer to organize this event every year rather. God, no, not every day. Um, but it is the most amazing event because you have to, be a good communicator. You have to know all the channels to get the word out, to get volunteers to come out and clean for a day. We usually, non-COVID times, we usually host a volunteer picnic afterwards. So we go to all the businesses and solicit food donations and prizes for school groups and things. And so I'm touching every facet of the community through this one type of volunteerism that I coordinate. And you know, I often say, gosh, I need a young person to come and help me. So, there are things like that are happening in your community where you can interact with schools, businesses that are setting out teams to clean. I talk to the village officials. I talk to the local police force to make the streets safe for the day. They put out signage. I talk to the community, to the county officials, and there is no better way to touch on every aspect of what's happening in your community than to just get out there and do something like that. And it pushes the buttons for me to do something that is a visible, tangible benefit of cleaning garbage off the street. And this is just one example. But it also really helps you to, it gives you a goal. You have to be flexible. Last week, 2 weeks ago, it was scheduled for May 1st. It snowed 6 inches. Whoops, guess I have to pivot, reschedule. Bam, you have to be thinking on your feet. So volunteering for different kinds of things like that really does make all those essential skills that you have to have in college of being able to be resilient and flexible and a planner and be goal oriented and group management. You have to manage the volunteers. You have to figure out where to assign everybody. Those are all amazing skills, and this is just one way where getting involved. It gives me the reason I love that event is that it gives me I see the benefit in the community. It makes our community look better and more welcoming for others. But it's working with the people and the kids and every single different kind of group of people that is just such a benefit. And it helped me understand, and volunteering in college helps me understand the role that I could play in making a difference and having a positive impact on my town in college, but now my town where I live. And you get to meet your neighbors, and you never know what opportunities, as Manny was saying earlier, you never know what opportunities and what doors that might open. Just talking to the local mayor about, how can we get more signage for whatever, and they'll say, oh, you should be interested. You're interested in this. You should talk to so and so. You can just, in a 5-minute conversation based on something you're doing, can lead to something else completely wonderful. And when I was in college, it got me interested in a different avenue than I thought I was going down. I was going to be a teacher, and then I got involved more with the arts community and volunteering at some of their events. And granted, I'm not a full-time artist now. I work for a nonprofit, but it opened a lot of different doors that gave me a lot of skills and just led to a different path. So I think it's important to follow your heart, but also to just sometimes think outside of the box and think about things you would never really consider, because it can open all kinds of amazing doors.
Andrea, I have one question, and this is
Yeah.
based on something you mentioned earlier about being shy. So
I
what
was
is
painfully
it?
shy.
Then you gave the advice of just do something that makes you uncomfortable, right? So how do you if you're shy, how do you do that? How do you go out and network?
Oh, that's really hard. I mean, I was so shy in college. I said earlier, I don't think I could even have done one of these panel discussions in college. My eyes would water when I would speak in public. I would stutter and get all just nervous and jerky. And I think just experience, but being curious. I think being curious can help you get out of your comfort zone because you can start a conversation with somebody just because you're interested in it and it will lead to different things and you just have to be able to follow your gut and follow your heart. And I think sometimes it's tough to push ourselves to do things that are difficult, but failing and falling on your face actually sometimes can be the best thing that happens to you in school. We've all taken a course that, gosh, that was a bomb, but it can teach you what you don't want to do, and it can teach you what you do want to do. And I think, I don't have any miracle advice for stretching yourself out of your comfort zone, but just talking to people and being curious and inquisitive. Lots of times you can do a lot of research. Mr. Google is your friend, and you can just find a lot of information. But following up on it and following through, and make that phone call. You know, my daughter is 15, and she's thinking about college and talking about where do I want to go, and do I want to go far from home, and you know. I'm struggling with getting her to get out of the car and go over there and talk to that man and ask him how to get to a certain place. And she's like, I can't do that. But you have to. You have to be able to do those things and just, and then when she does it, she comes back and she goes, I did it. I'm so proud of myself. You never know what you can accomplish until you push yourself beyond what you think is your own comfort zone and beyond your abilities. Because I think you're all much more capable than you give yourself credit for. I think we all are, right?
That was spot on. And I think you nailed it in the head when you said, obviously, the practice part too, and doing something you like. When you're practicing something you like, you don't really think about it too much, right? Because you already like it. You're curious about it. So that if you want to get out of your comfort zone, do it that way, because it'll give you the practice and the confidence that you can do the things that perhaps you're a little bit more apprehensive about doing. That also need to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's the hard things that often are the most rewarding, especially when you succeed at it. So I think, like me overcoming my fear of public speaking and doing things like that, it's just a matter of look at the long term goal too, and whatever it takes to get you there is what you've got to do. And I think that, with college and trying to figure out what your career is beyond that, it's really a matter of just getting involved in as much as you can handle and seeing what fits and what works, because you never know where it will lead.
Wow. That's a great way of concluding our session. You don't know where it will lead. So stay tuned. We're going to be back online at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to close off the week. But we just want to give you a warm thanks, Andrea, for all you have done for us and for sharing so much information. And we look forward to being in conversation with you in the future.
All right. Thanks so much, Manny. Good luck, everyone.